If you stay until the end of this video, you'll find out how Bryan Cranston transformed his life from a bankrupt actor to a millionaire, and why he's betting everything on a revival that could change his career forever. But first, subscribe to the channel because we have exclusive celebrity content every week. Bryan Lee Cranston was born on March 7, 1956, in Canoga Park, California, but his story didn't start like a typical Hollywood fairy tale. His father, Joseph Louis Cranston, was a failed actor and ex-boxer with serious alcohol problems. His mother, Audrey Peggy Sell, worked as a radio actress, but the family was far from stable. In multiple interviews, Bryan has been brutally honest about his childhood, describing his parents as troubled people who were incapable of being parents. When Bryan was just 11 years old, his father simply disappeared. One day he was there, the next he was gone, leaving the family in financial ruin. Bryan, his older brother Kyle, and his younger sister Amy were left with a mother struggling to keep the family afloat. This traumatic experience deeply marked Bryan's personality and fueled his determination never to abandon his own family. During his teenage years at Canoga Park High School, Bryan began to find refuge in local theater. He worked on small productions at the Granada Theater in the San Fernando Valley, where he discovered that acting wasn't just his passion, it was also his escape from a complicated family reality. But here's the interesting part: Bryan wasn't the typical star student. In fact, his grades were mediocre, and he had no concrete plans for his future. In 1976, at the age of 20, Bryan made a decision that would change his life forever. Along with his brother Kyle, they embarked on a 2-year motorcycle trip across the United States. They had no money, no plan, they just wanted to find themselves. During this journey, they worked odd jobs, from selling encyclopedias to taking care of horses. It was during this adventure that Bryan truly decided he wanted to become a professional actor. Upon returning to Los Angeles in 1978, Bryan began the typical struggle of any aspiring actor. He lived in tiny apartments, shared rooms with other actors, and worked survival jobs. For nearly a decade, he landed small roles in TV shows like Chips, Murder, She Wrote, and Matlock. The roles were so minor that sometimes he only had one line of dialogue, but Bryan treated every opportunity as if it were the role of a lifetime. Bryan's perseverance finally began to pay off in the 1980s. He was getting more consistent work, but he was still primarily a background actor. What many don't know is that during this period, Bryan also worked as an acting instructor to make ends meet. He taught at small studios in Los Angeles and even developed his own acting technique based on meticulous character preparation. In 1986, something radically changed in Bryan's life. While filming an episode of the series Airwolf, he met a guest actress named Robin Dearden. Robin, born on December 4, 1953, had also struggled to establish herself in Hollywood. She had appeared in shows like Magnum, P.I., and several TV movies, but like Bryan, she hadn't yet achieved her big break. The chemistry between Bryan and Robin was immediate, but what truly connected them was their mutual understanding of the struggles of the entertainment business. Both had experienced rejection, financial uncertainty, and the constant pressure to prove their talent. They started dating, and for the first time in years, Bryan felt he had a true life partner. On July 8, 1989, Bryan and Robin married in an intimate ceremony. They didn't have much money, but they had something more valuable: a partnership based on mutual respect and unconditional support. Robin decided to scale back her acting career to support Bryan's, a decision they both describe as crucial to the family's later success. In 1993, the most important moment in Bryan's personal life arrived: the birth of their daughter, Taylor Dearden Cranston, on February 12th. Bryan has spoken extensively about how fatherhood completely transformed him. Remembering his own father's absence, Bryan vowed to be the father he never had. He became an extremely present father, even turning down jobs if they interfered with important family time. Professionally, Bryan was still struggling. He had steady work, but nothing that truly stood out. Everything changed in 2000 when he received a call that would change his life forever. Linwood Boomer, the creator of a new Fox comedy, wanted Bryan to audition for the role of the father in Malcolm in the Middle. The role of Hal, the distracted but loving father in Malcolm in the Middle, seemed as if it had been written specifically for Bryan. His dysfunctional childhood gave him a deep understanding of complex family dynamics, while his years of acting preparation allowed him to create a character that was both hilarious and deeply human. Malcolm in the Middle became an instant cultural phenomenon. The series ran for 7 seasons, from 2000 to 2006, and gave Bryan not only worldwide recognition, but also financial stability for the first time in his life. By the final seasons, he was earning approximately $500,000 per episode, which allowed him to finally buy a decent home for his family and plan for the future. But Bryan didn't settle for success on television. During the breaks from Malcolm, he continued auditioning for film and theater roles. He appeared in movies like Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, where he had a small but memorable role as the colonel who informs Ryan's mother about the deaths of her sons. In 2008, as Malcolm came to an end, Bryan faced the question that terrifies every actor: what comes next after success? The answer came in the form of a script he initially turned down. Vince Gilligan, who had worked with Bryan on an episode of The X-Files, offered him the lead role in a new series called Breaking Bad. Bryan Cranston's transformation into Walter White is considered one of the greatest performances in television history. But what many don't know is the level of obsessive preparation Bryan put into the character. He spent months studying chemistry, visited real labs, and developed Walter's specific physicality. He even kept the character's iconic mustache throughout the entire production to stay in character. Breaking Bad not only redefined Bryan's career, but also established him as one of the most respected actors of his generation. He won 3 consecutive Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, an achievement only a few actors have accomplished in television history. During the production of Breaking Bad, 2008 to 2013, Bryan's family life also evolved significantly. His daughter Taylor grew up during this period and began to show interest in following in her parents' acting footsteps. Bryan, always protective of his family's privacy, was careful to keep Taylor out of the spotlight until she was mature enough to make her own decisions. Taylor graduated from the University of Southern California with a degree in theater, formally following the family's artistic path. She has appeared in some independent productions and had a small cameo in Breaking Bad in an episode directed by her own father. Bryan has been vocal about his pride in Taylor's academic and professional achievements, as well as his desire for her to forge her own path without relying on the family name. Bryan's relationship with Robin also strengthened during the Breaking Bad years. Robin made a few cameos in the series, and both have spoken about how the show's success finally allowed them to relax financially after decades of uncertainty. In 2025, they will celebrate 36 years of marriage, almost unheard of in Hollywood. But how does all this success translate into financial terms? Bryan Cranston's net worth in 2025 is estimated at approximately $50 million, a fortune he shares with Robin. This wealth comes from multiple sources far beyond his acting work. Residuals from Breaking Bad remain a significant source of income. The series has become even more popular on streaming platforms, generating steady revenue for Bryan. Residuals from Malcolm in the Middle also continue to contribute substantially, especially since the show remains popular in global syndication. But Bryan hasn't relied solely on past successes. In 2019, along with his Breaking Bad co-star Aaron Paul, he launched Dos Hombres, a premium mezcal brand. What started as a joke between friends has turned into a multi-million-dollar business. Dos Hombres has established itself as one of the most recognized premium mezcal brands in the United States, with expanding international distribution. The mezcal company is more than just a celebrity vanity project. Bryan and Aaron are genuinely involved in every aspect of the business, from selecting agave to marketing strategies. They have traveled extensively to Oaxaca, Mexico, working directly with local producers and learning about the traditional mezcal making process. In terms of real estate, Bryan and Robin have made strategic investments over the years. Their primary residence is in an exclusive area of Los Angeles, valued at approximately $5 million. The contemporary-style home has all the luxury amenities you'd expect, but Bryan has been careful to maintain a comfortable family environment rather than an ostentatious one. They also own a vacation home in an undisclosed location, which they use for private family getaways. Bryan has mentioned in interviews that he highly values his privacy and has invested in properties that allow them to escape public scrutiny when needed. When it comes to transportation, Bryan is known for being relatively modest. He primarily drives practical vehicles, rather than exotic sports cars. However, he maintains his passion for motorcycles, a love he developed during his youthful journey with his brother. He owns several vintage and modern motorcycles and regularly embarks on long rides as a form of relaxation and meditation. 2025 has been an especially exciting year for Bryan professionally. He is involved in several high-profile projects that showcase his continued versatility as an actor. The most anticipated project is the Malcolm in the Middle revival for Disney+. After years of fan speculation, it was finally confirmed that Bryan would return as Hal in a limited series exploring the family's life years later. The Malcolm revival represents more than just nostalgia. It's an opportunity for Bryan to revisit the character that launched him to stardom, but with the experience and maturity he has developed over the past 25 years. Negotiations for the project were extensive, and Bryan had significant creative control over the direction of the new series. Simultaneously, Bryan is working on a film titled Everything's Going to Be Great alongside Allison Janney. Directed by John S. Baird, the film is a dramatic comedy that explores themes of family and aspirations. Bryan has described the project as deeply personal, as it reflects many of the family struggles he experienced during his own childhood. However, not everything has been smooth sailing in 2025. Bryan found himself embroiled in controversy related to the independent film Lone Wolf, where he took a strong public stance on the rights of film workers. When funding issues arose that affected payments to the cast and crew, Bryan publicly refused to complete his work until everyone involved received their full compensation. This stance, while admired by many in the industry, created some tension with producers and demonstrated Bryan's evolution as a principled voice in Hollywood. His decision reflects not only his financial security, but also his commitment to labor values he developed during his years of struggle as an actor. Bryan also continues his work in theater, a medium he considers essential for keeping his acting skills sharp. In 2025, he has been involved in several theatrical productions, including some on Broadway that have not yet been publicly announced. His love for theater dates back to his days at the Granada Theater, and he believes live theater is essential for any serious actor. A lesser-known facet of Bryan's current life is his growing interest in directing and producing. He has directed several episodes of various TV series and is developing original projects through his production company. This shift toward behind-the-scenes roles represents his desire for more creative control and to mentor the next generation of talent. His work as an executive producer has allowed him to get involved in projects that might not have secured funding through traditional channels. He is particularly interested in stories that explore working-class themes and complex family dynamics, topics that resonate deeply with his own life experiences. Philanthropy has also become an important part of Bryan and Robin's lives. While they are private about their charitable contributions, it is known that they support organizations focused on arts education for underprivileged youth. Bryan has spoken about the importance of providing artistic opportunities to children who, like him, may use art as an escape from difficult family circumstances. Additionally, through Dos Hombres, Bryan and Aaron have implemented programs that directly support mezcal-producing communities in Mexico. These programs go beyond typical business relationships and include investments in educational and health infrastructure in the regions where they source their agave. So what does the future hold for Bryan Cranston? At 69 years old in 2025, Bryan shows few signs of slowing down. He has publicly expressed his desire to continue acting as long as his health allows, but he is also increasingly interested in mentoring roles within the industry. One of his most ambitious projects for the coming years is an expanded autobiography. Although he already published A Life in Parts in 2016, he is working on a follow-up that will focus specifically on the years after Breaking Bad and how massive success changed his perspective on life and career. Bryan is also exploring opportunities in digital media. He has expressed interest in creating original content for streaming platforms that allows him to experiment with non-traditional narrative formats. His experience in both comedy and drama uniquely positions him to create hybrid content that could define new television genres. On a personal level, Bryan and Robin are navigating the transition to potentially becoming grandparents. Taylor, now 32, is establishing her own career and personal life, and Bryan has spoken about his excitement at the possibility of a new generation in the Cranston Dearden family. The international expansion of Dos Hombres also represents a significant opportunity. Bryan and Erin are exploring markets in Europe and Asia, which could turn their mezcal brand into a global premium beverage empire. This business success would give Bryan a source of income completely independent of his acting career. One of the most fascinating things about Bryan Cranston in 2025 is how he has maintained his authenticity despite massive success. In an industry known for ego and superficiality, Bryan remains remarkably down-to-earth. He regularly participates in fan events, personally responds to fan letters, and maintains genuine relationships with colleagues at all levels of the industry. His fellow actors consistently describe him as one of the most prepared and generous professionals they have worked with. This reputation has not only secured him ongoing work, but has also established a legacy that extends beyond his individual performances. Bryan has also been vocal about the importance of mental health in the entertainment industry. Drawing from his own experience with family therapy during his traumatic childhood, he supports initiatives that provide mental health resources for artists at all stages of their careers. What makes Bryan Cranston truly special in 2025 is not just his acting talent or financial success, but his ability to maintain a balanced perspective on what truly matters in life. Despite decades in an incredibly superficial industry, Bryan has kept his core values centered on family, hard work, and artistic integrity. His marriage to Robin remains a rare example of stability in Hollywood. In an industry where relationships are often strained by the pressures of fame, Bryan and Robin have built a partnership that has lasted more than 3 decades. Part of their marital success comes from conscious decisions they made early on to keep certain aspects of their lives completely private. Taylor, their daughter, represents Bryan and Robin's greatest success as parents. Despite growing up with a famous father, Taylor has developed her own identity and career without excessively relying on the family name. This is a testament to the thoughtful and deliberate parenting Bryan and Robin provided. If you like this video and want to see more content about the private lives of your favorite celebrities, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. And don't miss the next video on your screen right now, where we explore the best-kept secrets of another Hollywood star that will surprise you.